Welcome to another segment of Gas-Powered Thoughts. I'm Carrie Shirley. Today we're going to start a new build series on doing a gas conversion of a Goblin G700. We're going to use a conversion kit developed by a company in Australia, Leviathan Designs. There's a little bit of a story behind this conversion. Leviathan Designs is an industrial robot company, and Joey Chan, one of the partners, is a gas helicopter fan. He also flies Goblins. So he was intrigued with the idea of converting one of his Goblins into a gasoline helicopter. With his engineering, manufacturing, and materials background, he was like a perfect choice to design something like this. Plus he actually flew helicopters, so that's always a good thing. So what he's put together is a conversion kit that allows you to adapt a Zenoah RC format motor into the Goblin 700 or 630. This particular series will be on the 700. It's a pre-production version, so what I'm going to go through are the parts you see in the conversion, the required parts that you'd have to purchase in order to complete the conversion, and then some optional parts that I'll add. All conversions require a donor model. This model is a Goblin 700. It's a current spec standard Goblin 700 in the green version. It weighs 5.6 ounces, or 5 pounds 6 ounces as you see it. Doesn't have a motor, battery set, or ESC in it. Uses the HPS rotor head. I've got Futaba electronics, standard landing gear. The tail boom and push rod is standard. One thing that's different on the tail rotor is I do have the KDE pitch mechanism. In the kit you'll find a couple of drawings. One is a bolt map and the other is a layout of the composite parts. And here you can see everything that comes in the conversion kit except for the hardware, frames, drive system, etc. Here's a close-up of the bottom engine mount. This is the bottom plate the engine mounts on, and a replacement for the pull starter. It's actually a fan cover, much lighter. Here's the frames, all the pieces for the frames, some doublers, some spacers, a switch cover, and some tubing for the fuel tank to protect it from any vibration. This is all G10. It's a semi-gloss finish. The drive system is actually this little box. This replaces the motor plate on the standard model. You can see that it's got 3 bearing blocks in it, as well as a clutch bell. And the clutch bell is a little bit oversized. It holds the standard Zenoah clutch plus a yoke to allow a top start mechanism. So you can either pull start or top start the model, which is really good. There's some composite parts for the landing gear on the bottom because they're doubled. And then the little parts on the top actually mount the motor plate to the bottom of the model. And here's the hardware, nuts and bolts and a start shaft that's included with the conversion kit. It's pretty much everything that you'd need to add to the model to install the conversion. As with most conversion, there are some required parts you'll need. Let's start off with the motor. You'll need a Zenoah RC format motor. This is from TRM Power. This is the VX270 TT motor. It's commonly used in the Whiplash. Any standard RC format motor will work. You're also going to need a clutch for it. It uses the Zenoah clutch. This is commonly used in RC cars, also in the Whiplash. You've got to have this little air deflector to get the air out of the frames. You also need a muffler. This is a Hattori SB12R3. It's a gas muffler that's isolator mounted. Going to need a couple of parts from miniature aircraft, at least in this pre-production version. These are for the starter. It's a yoke on top of the clutch as well as the adapter. You're going to need a fuel tank, specifically a 14-ounce Dubro, along with a stopper that is gas-proof. You need some finishing washers from SAB. You need these larger washers from SAB. And finally, you need some frame spacers, and these are all off-the-shelf SAB parts. Also, because the model is heavier, he's doubled up on the landing gear, so you need another set of landing gear. In this case, I've taken the tape off of it. Those are actually going to double up. That's what the little doublers we saw earlier were for. Because it now has a throttle and requires an arm, you can use these links from Align. You're going to need a battery. I'm using this Gens Ace 4000 milliamp LiPo. You need a throttle servo. I'm going to use an HV servo, so I don't need a regulator. I usually complete my model with parts, and I always try to list those. So for RPM sensing off the motor, I'm going to use the Statigator. It's an off-the-shelf plug-in. Works with most governors. I'm going to use these KDE landing gear plates. They're reinforced across the bottom, so they're able to deal with the heavier weight. And also the components in the conversion were made to support this piece. There's actually slots in the bottom. I'm a big fan of telemetry when it's available, so I'm going to install some Futaba temperature and RPM sensors so that I can send that information back to the transmitter and set some thresholds for alerts. I need to get the power out of the bigger battery, so I'm going to use this Fromco adapter. It'll plug into the receiver. For the fuel system, I need a clunk, which is on the right, and a vent, which is on the left. You can also use a coil tube instead of this one-way vent if you want. You can see the part numbers. And finally, I said I needed a tank stopper for gasoline. I'm going to use this aluminum one from Sullivan, as well as some nipples they offer. Okay, now that we've been through the various components of the conversion, let's get started with converting this bad boy over.